First thing I want to talk about is, what do you do at the city? Tell people.
Well, I'm the Neighborhood Relations Specialist, and I just started 3 months ago tomorrow, actually.
So you're a veteran then.
Yeah, right.
Now, what I find interesting is not just, you joined us, but also your background. It's, as a person who's traveled, you've traveled a lot. So maybe tell people about that.
Yeah, so I just graduated from grad school in May, but before that I was living in Japan for about 1.5 years. And I've also lived in South America, Argentina and Ecuador. I was about 1 year in South America, and then 1 year in Madrid, Spain.
Okay. So you're going to help me with my Spanish?
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
But not with your Japanese. My
No,
Japanese is terrible.
I don't think I want to go there ever again. So, we've been talking a lot about neighborhoods, and tell us, why is it important that we get people active in their neighborhoods?
Sure. Well, basically we believe that the more connected and the more communication there is among residents, the more safe, livable neighborhoods we'll have, the more stability people want to stay, they'll be proud of their neighborhood and they're proud of Brooklyn Park.
I know we hope that people will, instead of calling the city to ask their neighbor to fix something, that they might go over and ask them. Or maybe find out they need help. Maybe somebody's a veteran or somebody who's they're serving overseas and they need some help fixing that fence.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities like that out there. Just from the folks I've already been talking to, I think there's a lot of people in Brooklyn Park with a little spark who are willing to kind of do something to organize their neighborhood, get to know their neighbors, and this initiative really just says, hey, the city wants to support that. We're going to offer you some support resources, and I'm excited to see what everyone makes of it.
And one of the questions I get is always, do we get signs? If we get a neighborhood that's organized and people are, they feel like they're part of something, we're going to name it kind of, like Minneapolis does with some of their neighborhoods.
Yeah, so signs could definitely happen down the road, but it's, we will do a big community input process to look at boundaries and names, but people will identify those themselves.
Yep.
But then it's really about the organizing and the people getting to know each other.
Yep.
That I think will really make it stick, more than just the boundaries and all of that.
Yep.
I'm excited about people being able to do events together, neighborhood improvement projects, whether it's like a cleanup event or a kiddie parade, all kinds of kind of beautification process projects like gardening, things
Yep.
like that. So we'll just see what people want to do once they all kind of meet each other.
That's good. That's good. I know that people are interested in that. They've talked a lot about, as a council, we've talked a lot about good things happen when people know their neighbors. And the opposite of that is when people don't know their neighbors, bad things typically start to happen.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I always tell neighbors is if everybody's shutting their shades, no one's paying attention. And that's when, things that people that you don't want to have in your neighborhood, they tend to happen. So.
Yeah, and I think especially with such an awesome, interesting mix of people in Brooklyn Park, I know I've talked already with a lot of people who say, I want to meet my neighbor, but I don't know quite how,
Yep.
or I don't have a good, a reason to kind of meet them, and so that's what we're providing here is just different ideas, different tools on what that could look like.
And then that's good. It leads to my next question is, one of the things we have is our diversity, and we don't just have like towns or little areas that have just one ethnic group. It's kind of spread out. We had a reporter here last year that was coming to see the different neighborhoods and didn't realize that there is none. We're all, you can go down any given street and you find people. And so how do you start to get that where someone's like, I live next to a person who just moved here from another country, and they're a little nervous as well because they don't know what to say.
Yeah. I think it goes both ways. I think, people have said to me sometimes newer Americans, they identify with their cultural group and they don't identify necessarily geographically
Yep.
like we do. But then I've also met some residents who say, we always have the same kind of event, we always invite people, but they don't come. And it's like, maybe it's because you're having the same kind of event or, so it's both kind of explaining why we value this kind of organizing and then also how we can reach out in new ways to people.
Well, I think that when we traveled to Liberia, we found that by just being there, you could see everybody was outside. People weren't sitting inside watching the big screens, checking the Xbox out. They were actually outside. They were talking to people. They knew everything going on, and so much more the person-to-person network versus the internet as the network.
Yeah, and using public spaces, like using our parks and all the resources we have here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, one of the other things we've been talking a lot about is engaging with the community. We have an initiative called Community Engagement Initiative. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah, and then the Neighborhoods Initiative really grew out of that community engagement initiative, so that's why it's going to be really grassroots and led by the residents. There are 4 teams, diversity, youth, resources, and measurement team, which kind of measures everything. So we've actually recently changed the format a little bit. All the teams are meeting on the 4th Thursday of every Thursday,
Yep.
4th Thursday of every month.
Yep.
And
That's a lot of meetings every Thursday.
right. So what's cool though is that we all get together at 5:30 and share a meal together. That meal food just brings people together, and then we split up and do our teamwork. So actually, the next one will be December 5th because it runs into the holiday. But yeah, so everyone's welcome to come, and it's exciting. Staff, residents, some people that are new every time, and then people that have been since the beginning, 4 years now.
And so that's the 4th Thursday every month?
Yep, 4th
In City
Thursday
Hall,
every
right?
month. Yep.
So
in
if
the
let's
City
say I'm a
Council
person
chambers.
I just want to see what this is about, whether it's because I'm interested or maybe I just want to see how my money's been spent, I can show up and kind of get a sense of what they're doing and ask
Absolutely,
questions.
yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's actually a great way to leverage the city's resources because this is volunteer power.
Yep.
People are working on really cool things. We just recently had the Dog Park Expo, so that was led by the resources team, and had hundreds of people come out.
Yes.
400 people or something.
Well, lots of dogs.
Right, lots of dogs. So it's really successful and something that the city, maybe staff wouldn't necessarily take it on, but the volunteers wanted to lead it up. And
You know, and a few years ago, that was actually started by a resident. It wasn't a staff-driven, and so when that resident was unable to do it, I was kind of shocked it wasn't there, and I was like, and then I found out it wasn't
do it,
a city thing.